recorded a computer. All right. Hi, I'm Dr. Musial from Plant Docs, and tonight is our first class of 4 foods to fight cancer. And tonight we're going to talk about mushrooms and the allium family, and then we're going to make a delicious mushroom stroganoff. So I'm going to start with a PowerPoint presentation. So I'm going to share my screen and find my talk. Let's see, it's hidden. I'm going to minimize the little thumbnails. Slideshow, play for the start. Okay, can you all see the slide?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes.
Thank you. Yes. Thank you. So I call this foods to fight cancer. Yes, nutrition does matter, because I feel like a lot of people are told that what you eat doesn't matter, you know, after a cancer diagnosis, and I beg to differ. So we're talking about mushrooms, the allium family, spices, and drinks. So just a little bit about me. I'm board certified in pediatrics and obesity medicine and about to be certified in lifestyle medicine this fall. I'm a food as medicine specialist. I have my plant-based certificate from Cornell, and I did health coaching at the Institute of Integrative Nutrition and the Harvard Culinary Coach Program. I just say all that because, like, doctors don't learn any of this. You know, I had to kind of self-educate to become knowledgeable about nutrition and to get up to date on all the studies and learn about food and how powerful they can be as medicine. I do one-on-one consults, speaking engagements, and I run group programs at Plant City that are all offered remotely. So before we start, if you haven't, soak your cashews, I can't show you, in hot water, and it just helps them soften and get creamier when we blend them. Drain, you can drain your tofu now if you want to. I'm going to do it later after the talk. And if you want to, while I'm talking, you can start dicing your onion and mincing your garlic. But I'm going to do that all live, like after this. Some food for thought. This kind of way of eating, like more whole foods, less processed foods, more plant foods, less meat, you know, it's all these foods that are rich in antioxidants and cancer fighting properties. It's not a substitution for regular medical care, not a cure. It's not meant to take the place of your doctor's regular advice. Just have to say that. So the food you eat can either be the safest, most powerful form of medicine or the slowest form of poison. Meaning that depending on the foods that you choose, different things happen in our bodies. And so, can you guys mute yourself? There's a little puppy in the background.
Yeah, that's mine. Sorry.
That's okay. Yeah, just mute for now. So you are what you eat, meaning, and this is maybe a different way of thinking about it than you've thought. When every single day we're making hundreds, thousands, I don't know, maybe millions of new cells, like our skin regenerates every 6 weeks, our liver cells regenerate, new red blood cells, white blood cells. We're constantly have our cells dying. They all have a lifespan, and then we make new ones. So where do the building blocks come from to make an actual new cell? Like, where does that material literally come from? You know, and if you think about it, it's the food that you eat that is broken down that provides the building blocks. So this picture just kind of illustrates, you know, in a silly way, what you eat, you know, contributes to your body and your new cells, your new organs that are created. And literally you can start new every day by changing what you eat. So when you have food choices, they can either be gifts for your body, lots of, you know, vitamins and minerals and antioxidants, or they could be stealing your health, depending on what you choose. And how food helps to ward off cancer includes, it prevents damaged cells from reproducing, and it reduces inflammation, healthy foods, helps regulate hormones, protect and repair DNA, slow the growth of cancer, and strengthen your immune system. And on a cellular level, healthy, nutritious anti-cancer foods prevent normal cells from becoming cancer cells, can slow down the growth of new blood vessels that feed tumors. So that's called angiogenesis. It helps block that. Certain foods can decrease the spread of cancer cells and can increase the action of our NK cells, which stands for natural killer cells. These are part of our immune system, and this helps boost immunity in a natural way. And also can promote apoptosis, which is a word meaning cancer cell suicide, where the cancer cells die off. And there are certain foods that help encourage this. So we're talking about mushrooms today, which is such an interesting kingdom. Some are super toxic and can kill you. Some will take you on a journey. These are like psychedelic mushrooms. And then some are just really weirdo, crazy looking. But many are super nutritious and healing, and they have really unique healing and health attributes because they're not really in the plant kingdom. They're in a kingdom all on their own. So the pros of eating mushrooms, nutritionally, they're low in calories and fat, no cholesterol. They're a pretty good source of fiber, vitamins, different minerals, and they have cancer-fighting properties, anti-inflammatory properties, and they stimulate your immune system. And there's really no cons to eating mushrooms unless you don't like them. So unique attributes of mushrooms, they stimulate the immune system by these specific polysaccharides that they have. They have enzyme inhibiting activity. They inhibit the production of certain enzymes such as aromatase, which the body uses to make estrogen, and this could help reduce the risk of breast cancer. And they have anti-inflammatory properties. They contain triterpenes that are steroid-like molecules that inhibit histamine release. So the different mushrooms, these are the most common ones, the button mushrooms that can be sauteed or stuffed. Baby bellas are very similar, but they hold up well on a skewer and can be sauteed whole. Portobello mushrooms you could throw on the grill and use it in place of a beef burger, or sliced like you might with steak and used in a fajita. Oyster mushrooms you can find at farmers markets. I actually found mine just at Whole Foods in the chef mix, but you just chop them up and use them in a saute or any mushroom recipe. Lion's mane are the big furry white ones, and same thing, you just chop them up and saute them with onions and garlic, and they're so delicious. The king trumpet mushrooms can be sliced. They're the only mushroom grown for their stem. You can slice the stem across and make little vegan scallops or saute them lengthwise. Shiitake mushrooms can be purchased dry or fresh and are great and sauteed. They're more chewy and hearty tasting. Maitake are found locally, also called hen of the woods, and they're found in the woods around this time of year. And you can saute them, make a steak out of it, make them into bacon. And enoki mushrooms are also called inokatake. They're a Japanese mushroom. They look wild, the one on the left, and the one in the middle is the cultivated version, but it's the same thing. And they're often eaten raw in Japanese cuisine. So the maitake, shiitake, kawaratake, inokatake, these are all Japanese mushrooms, and they're staple foods in Japan. They contain lentinin, which along with other polysaccharides help stimulate the immune system. And they actually give them to patients in Japanese hospitals while they're getting their chemotherapy, because they're thought to help by increasing the number and activity of immune cells, which help to slow tumor growth. These are beech mushrooms that need to be cooked. They have crunchy brown caps. And chanterelles are from France and can be sauteed. They're delicious. I was actually in France last week and they actually had these on the menu. I had been talking about it. I've never actually had them, and I had them last week. They're really good. And there's all these mushroom farms popping up all over the place, and they're growing some of these, but this is the black trumpet mushroom, and the morel mushroom does grow around here. Chaga mushrooms look like this gross blob on the tree on the left, and you take it and dry it and then grind it up and make tea out of it. And you can buy it in tea bags or in loose tea, but they've been shown to have anti-tumor, anti-mutagenic, meaning it helps prevent DNA from changing, from cells becoming cancerous. They help fight viruses. They're anti-diabetic, antioxidants, analgesic, meaning pain killing. They're immune modulating, anti-inflammatory, and pain relieving. And this is all from the Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center website. So we are slowly, except they have all these disclaimers like, don't, just be careful, like with this advice or whatever, but at least it's on their website. I was impressed. And reishi mushrooms are like chaga. They're made into tea, and they're grown around here too. You dry them out, these big mushrooms, and slice them, and then they can be made powdered into tea, or you can take the whole chunk like that, the slice, and put it into water with other kinds of tea. You can buy this Traditional Medicinals makes a brand that is with rooibos tea and orange peel, and altogether it's tasty. Alone, the chaga mushrooms and reishi mushrooms don't have a lot of flavor, but these have been used in Chinese medicine for over 2,000 years. And they have these special beta glucans, which may stop the growth and spread of cancer cells through immune stimulating and anti-cancer effects. And the triterpenes help lower blood pressure, have anti-allergy effects, and may inhibit cancer invasion. So to me, it's like, all right, if they have all these potential uses and they have really no downside, why not drink some tea? And then vitamin D, sun is the best source of vitamin D, but between November and April north of Atlanta or LA, you cannot make vitamin D because the sun's too low on the horizon. And you need to be mindful of getting too much sun exposure if you're in the south and the sun is really intense. So fortified food sources of vitamin D are found in like orange juice and plant-based milks, but mushrooms are the best plant-based source of vitamin D. The wild ones specifically that are grown outside and are exposure to the sun will develop natural vitamin D. But even cremini, portobello, and button mushrooms have some vitamin D. And they did one experiment where they put shiitake mushrooms out in the sun for 6 hours, gills side up, and the vitamin D levels went from 100 to 46,000 international units. It's kind of fascinating. So they absorb the D from the sun, and then you eat them. So the allium family is the combination of garlic and onion, and leeks and chives. This whole family is called the allium. And it's not like you're typically not going to eat it alone, except maybe like in onion soup. But whenever you cook, add the garlic and the onion because they are so powerful in so many ways. They help reduce hypertension, improve cholesterol, regulate blood glucose, and are helpful in cancer. Garlic has been studied for thousands of years, and there's all kinds of interesting history, finding them in tombs. Even Louis Pasteur noticed antibacterial properties in the 1800s. Garlic has these sulfur compounds. There's like several of them that have been studied that have been shown to have carcinogenic, reduce the carcinogenic effects of, and nitrosamines. These are the carcinogens found in grilled meats. So when eaten with the garlic, it helps offset that. Garlic's been shown to promote cell cancer death, that apoptosis in colon, breast, lung, prostate, and leukemia. They may help to get rid of toxic substances that cause cancer and help regulate blood sugar. And it doesn't matter, you can have it any way, whole close, sliced, minced, chopped, cooked, raw, it's all good. When you have like a bulb of garlic, it doesn't smell like much, but when you chop into it, you're releasing the enzymes that activate these powerful antioxidants. And that's when you smell it, that's what's the active ingredient. Same with onion when you chop into it. So to roast garlic, you just chop the top off the whole bulb like this in the picture, and you wrap it in foil like 35 minutes at 400 or a little longer until it gets soft. And then you can just squeeze out the garlic and spread it on toast. I actually had that this morning. Carl Sandburg said, life is like an onion. You peel it off one layer at a time, and sometimes it makes you weep. So onions have similar effects as garlic. Chopping and chewing activates these phytochemicals. They're a major source of the flavonoid quercetin. That's the kind of gift. I like to think of what are the gifts in all these foods that we're eating. So onions you can roast, grill, saute. I always use them to start soups. And if you're using them raw, you can soak them in just cold water for 15 minutes and it takes that bite out if you don't like raw onions. I always prefer them cooked. Shallots are similar to onions. They're in the same family, slightly different flavor, but delicious. Leeks, there were so many leeks in France. And I think it's the season for leeks there, but you can grill them, braise them, make soup. There's a delicious vegan potato leek soup. I can send you, just make a note of that. And then chives and scallion are the other part of this family that can be used in salads or sauteed. And they're also an important source of prebiotics, the food that feeds your gut bacteria. So there's a great video. I can send you this link. It's just 2.5 minutes, but it talks about mushrooms and breast cancer and how in this one kind of review that soy is good for breast cancer, green tea is too, but together the soy plus the green tea plus the mushrooms, it seems like is better than any one of them alone. But the mushrooms seem to have powerful anti-cancer effects. And then herbs are more than just tasty, flavorings for our food. They have a lot of active phytonutrients, fatty acids, and that have been shown in this family in particular, the labiate family, which is rosemary, mint, thyme, marjoram, oregano, basil, that reduces the spread of cancer and can prevent cancer cell death. So throw in your herbs. This is my herb garden that I have out on my deck, and I just clip something and chop it up and put it in whatever I'm making. Rosemary, I keep inside year round. I put it out in the summer, but I bring it in the winter, and then I always have fresh rosemary. It can affect the capacity of cancer cells to invade. It can correct defects in intestinal cells that are prone to become cancer. That was a mice study. And rosemary extracts help chemotherapy penetrate cancer cells. And it has a lot of other benefits. There's like a whole study with attention and focus and brain, clarity. But the gift that it has is called carnosol. And then all of these, I never realized they're all in the same family: parsley, celery, cilantro, cumin, chervil, and fennel. They contain, their gift is apigenin, a powerful inhibitor of new blood cell creation that tumors need in order to grow. They actually have a similar effect of Gleevec, which is a chemotherapy drug. So eat your celery and cilantro, and just these things can be added to any meal. Green tea's gift is called EGCG. It's a polyphenol, and it blocks the new blood vessel formation that feeds tumors and is also a detoxifier. So I would recommend 3 times a day to have green tea. The Japanese tea has more of these antioxidants. Sencha is one of the highest that you could get and just have. You do a long infusion, 8 to 10 minutes, and drink freshly brewed, spaced out throughout the day 3 times. It's better when combined with soy. And the latest research on coffee is that it's good for you. It does contain polyphenols. The gift is called chlorogenic acid, which is an antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, anti-diabetes, helps lower blood pressure, lowers cancer risk and recurrence rates. But enjoy it without dairy and sugar for the most benefits, and always buy organic, because the countries that grow coffee beans use a lot of pesticides that aren't regulated as much as ours in the States. And dark chocolate is actually good for you. If it's not with dairy, it should be at least 70%. It has polyphenols, it's heart healthy, improves cognitive function, has anti-cancer properties. The dose, though, the culinary dose, is 20 grams or 3/4 of an ounce. So it's just like 1 square, not like a whole candy bar. And when they measure, they've done these studies where you eat chocolate and they measure the antioxidants in your blood. If you do milk chocolate, you don't get the benefit from the antioxidants. It counteracts it. And other herbs and spices like turmeric, powerful anti-inflammatory, always should be consumed with black pepper to increase the absorption, is important in cancer. cinnamon helps in glucose control, ginger for nausea, stomach upset. They do way more than just, these are like what they're known for. Garlic, we talked about, and cayenne pepper helps ease pain and reduce bad bacteria. But all these spices, powdered, fresh, roots, they're all like really good for you. So we're going to be making this mushroom stroganoff, but other ways to enjoy mushrooms throughout the day. There's mushroom powders that are really great mixed. I make like a frothed oat milk every morning and put a little organic espresso in it with a mushroom powder and a turmeric blend. And that's like my morning drink. Granola with berries and oat milk is one of my go-tos. I have an anti-cancer smoothie that I can send you guys. Green tea for breakfast, and then lunch, mushroom burger or portobello burger on a whole wheat bun, or like Ezekiel bun, or in a lettuce wrap with spinach, tomatoes, red onions. These are all like anti-cancer ingredients. The mushroom stroganoff we're going to make, or you could do a mushroom saute with broccoli or brown rice. So that's the talk, and we're going to start cooking.
Sandra, will you share these slides with us, or?
Sure.
Yeah. Is that okay?
Okay. Yeah.
Thank you.
I'll make a copy, and oops, the sun's setting. Like that's, it's like, wow. All right. Let me put this here. So the first thing, what we're going to do is make pasta, and the pasta I got is this, I love this Tolerant brand. It's made from green lentils. They're little spirals, but chickpea pasta is great, whole wheat pasta, brown rice pasta, just not white pasta. So I'm going to put on a pot of water to boil to start. And while the water's boiling, we'll start chopping some things. But before that, I'm going to drain my tofu. That way my tofu can drain while I'm chopping all these things. I've actually never had this brand before. This is just a super firm, organic tofu. Tofu is another one of those things you always want to buy organic, because soybeans are heavily sprayed in this country with terrible chemicals. So I'm just going to take it out and drain the water. Think of, if you're not familiar with tofu, think of it like a sponge. If you have a soaking wet sponge, it will never be able to absorb the flavors of what you're cooking with. So you want to squeeze the water out of it so it will be able to absorb all the flavors. So I just do this with a paper towel to start, to dry it off. Sometimes these really super firm ones are not that watery. I'm going to cut it the long way, just in 2 slabs. And then I have this other cutting board. I'm going to take, it's like a cloth that I've washed a million times. I'm just going to put my 2 slabs on the towel and wrap it up. And then I'm going to put another cutting board on top of it with a heavy pot on this back counter. So it looks like this. Can you see that? So it's just squeezing the water out of it. Okay.
Can I just ask a question?
Yeah, please.
So I went to Trader Joe's and picked up the organic tofu extra firm, but it was sprouted. Can you explain that to me? I'm not really sure what that means. So versus regular tofu, it was sprouted tofu.
Yeah. So instead of, they use soybeans to make tofu. If you soak the beans first and sprout them, it releases more nutrition. So the sprouted tofu is a higher nutritional value. That's kind of all I know about that.
Okay. All right. Well, that's good to know. Thank you.
Yeah. So I'm just gonna, what I do with my onion, I know everyone peels their onion a different way. I score it like this through the skin like 4 times, and then it makes it easy to just peel off the outer leaves just like that. And then it's like so fast. And then I'm just going to cut off the top, but leave the bottom intact. And I'm going to slice it all, almost down to the bottom, all the way through. And you can do it however you want to. I know a lot of you know how to cook. So some people cut it in half and like do the half side down, so it's not like a round object. But I do this, and then I've got like this, cut both ways kind of flour thing. And then I'm going to turn it and get all the dice. And someone told me if you put, and I think it works, but I'm not doing it now, a little bowl of water next to your diced onion, it makes it, I'm going to try it because I always start crying. It absorbs. So this is like all the powerful, what we were talking about. Like you have an onion, it doesn't smell like anything, right? And as soon as you cut into it, it's like, oh my God, your eyes burn. And that's all those enzymes being released, activating all the phytonutrients that are going to be available for your body that are just like sitting in here. Oh my God, I have very sensitive eyes. Sometimes I wear swim goggles. I really don't like the burning. All right. So I don't know if that water's helping. Woo. And then I'm going to get ready 4 cloves of garlic. I learned that people with blue eyes are more sensitive to the effects of onion, cry more. Oh, this is a really tight garlic bulbs. Here, do you guys want to see an amazing sunset? Let's see. Oh, love it. That's in Narragansett Bay. I'm in Riverside. I never told you where I was. It's part of East Providence for people who aren't around here.
So that's the water like right outside your kitchen?
Yes, it is.
Pretty
I
nice.
am very lucky to live here. It's my life's dream to live on the water. And it's literally so close to the water. I can't see the lawn when I look out of my deck. So I feel like I'm on like a cruise ship. It's really nice. All right. And then I just smash my garlic cloves to get it to release from the skin. Oops, something fell. But just like the onion, the garlic has all this magical properties that fight cancer that are tucked away inside this package. It doesn't smell like anything until you get into it and cut it open and activate all those enzymes. And, my fascination with nutrition started as a child, really. I had a uncle that died young, and it was my father's brother. And my father became very interested in, oh, well, if I change my diet, he didn't want to have a heart attack. He was worried like what would happen to him. So he started reading about food and how it impacts your health. And that's how I got interested in food as medicine, and ended up studying nutrition in college because of my kind of dad's interest. We started back then, he was like, okay, we're not going to have red meat anymore because sounds like that could lead to heart disease. So he was really ahead of his time. And of course, we still don't learn this in medical school. It's ridiculous. But the more I learn, you know, I am what I do is based on science. And this whole cancer thing started with Maria Gemma approached me in 21 and asked if I would create a course for the breast cancer survivors that are part of the Gloria Gemma Foundation that is plant-based at Plant City. And we did this live class there that was really fun. You know, I had just quit my real job and I had like a month to just do nothing else. So I just spent it researching the science between food and cancer. And I created this 6-week course based on 6 different food groups. And just felt like, oh my God, we need to be doing this more, right? Nobody's teaching anybody this.
I actually recently I'm having problems with my liver, and that was one of the things I asked like all my doctors, like, what can I do? What can I eat? What can I stay away from? And they're just like, nothing. It's not going to change anything. There's nothing you can do. And it kind of makes you
Right?
feel
Oh,
like,
that's so
are you
frustrating.
sure? Like,
It doesn't matter at all.
I know. How can it not matter?
Well, it goes to what Sandra said. The doctors are not taught enough about nutrition.
Mhm.
in med
No.
school. They just aren't. And it's too bad because my husband's a physician and we have little tiffs every once in a while because I just, I think there's a lot to be said about changing your diet to make some changes with your health.
A lot of people don't want to give up their meat too. Let's face it. It's just too valuable to them, but it's
Yeah.
you
But
know,
once you don't eat it anymore, though, it doesn't even
right.
phase you. I mean, I've given people vegetarian meals, and they're like, "Wow, this is really good."
Right.
And the meat eaters, they're just kind of surprised when you make a meal without meat. Sometimes they don't think that they're going to be, full or,
Mhm.
but
Mhm. Yeah.
there's a lot of ways to
And I
get
feel like
nutrition.
we're in such like a protein is, overrated and carbs have been demonized. But talking about good carbs versus bad carbs is really an important distinction because carbohydrates that are in fruits and vegetables and whole grains and beans and potatoes, like these are healthy.
Mhm.
It's all the white flour crap and processed pastries and that are so unhealthy. So I'm just chopping up all my mushrooms. I literally bought, have you guys seen this at Whole Foods? It's called Chef's Mix. And it was a combination of these, what are these ones called? Just talked about this. I'm blanking the name.
Mataki.
I don't think they're mataki. Funny, I forget. Let me see what it says. Oh, they are mataki. You're right. Mataki, shiitake, king trumpet, oyster. That was the other word I was trying. Yeah, the oyster ones and the I think these are the oyster ones. And you're right. I think this is the mataki. So I just I'm just chopping them up. Like they're all just going to get cooked and reduced. And so I just cut off the very bottom part that sometimes has like the growth medium that they grow in. Like that. I'm just going to get rid of that. But the rest, just chopping up. And the shiitake ones are very, are a little more, I don't want to say rubbery, but they are. So I cut them, really thinly, where like these are more soft and flimsy. This is a
I'm jealous.
huge shiitake.
I'm jealous. I only got one kind, so I would have gotten a mixture.
I know. I should have said, but I decided to do this just to show you. I know this is way more than it calls for. But But
Good.
I just wanted to show you that, because a lot of people are like, well, I don't know what to do with those mushrooms, the other ones, but it's all the same. You just chop them all up and cook them. Don't be afraid. Just get them and eat them, and try to eat them every day. There's so many ways you can enjoy them, and they're just so good for you. And if you make a dish like this, like I'm going to have leftovers, so I would be happy eating this several days in a row because it's so good. And most stroganoffs have, like cream and butter, and they're not healthy, and they're usually made with white pasta. But this is, all healthy. Every ingredient is a gift for your body. So my water's boiling. I'm going to throw in my pasta. And everyone should look at their own pasta. Mine says 6 to 8 minutes. And I always go on the low side, especially with these like bean pastas. I don't want them to turn to mush. So I'm going to check it after 5 minutes. Okay, Siri, set timer for 5 minutes.
5 minutes, talking now.
So this is the pan I'm going to be using to make the tofu, and I'm going to move my camera over here. And also the mushroom saute, because it's like a nice big pan. All right. So I'm going to heat that up. And I'm going to start the tofu first. This is my. So I teach people to cook without oil because we overuse oil everywhere, and it's inflammatory oftentimes, the kinds of oils we use. When oils are cooked on high heat, even olive oil, it can become carcinogenic. Olive oil is not meant to be heated like that. So a little bit of raw olive oil is probably okay. So, all right, let me switch my.
What do you usually use instead?
I use veggie broth or water. So in here, I have like this kind of just box of veggie broth.
Mhm.
And I'm just gonna, for my tofu, I'm gonna just put in a little bit, a splash of it. And then I'm gonna take my tofu, can you see? Yeah. I'm gonna cut it. I mean, there's no magic in this. You can cut whatever shapes you want. You can make triangles. The smaller for me, the better, just because it's going to absorb more of the flavors. So I'm just cutting little rectangles, and I'm going to throw all these in to heat them up and brown them a little bit before we make the stroganoff. So I'm just going to put all of this tofu in the pan with a little bit of broth. You can see that a little bit. And then just for a little bit of seasoning for the tofu, I'm just going to put a little bit of soy sauce on them, so they'll have their own flavor. So these are really just kind of heating up, getting a little bit of flavor. And then we'll do the onions, the garlic, and the mushrooms, and then we'll make the sauce. So while that's cooking, I'm just going to finish cutting up my mushrooms, which are almost done. It just called for 12 ounces, but I'm sure I've gone overboard here, but I just love them. All right, I think that's everything. So we'll go over here. Sorry for the movement. So the broth is evaporating, and this is a nice heavy bottom pot. You know, if you have a thinner pot, things tend to stick more. And then you might need a little more veggie broth or a little bit of water. I'm just kind of flipping everything over now, so both sides can get cooked a little bit. And you can see you kind of want them to just look like that. Hey Siri, off. All right. But you don't want them to stick too much because then they might all break apart. I'm just going to check my noodles. I'm going to turn my tofu down so it doesn't burn while I'm distracted. All right, so it's gonna cook a little more when you mix it all together with everything. So these are like, if you wanted to be, you know, I guess it depends what you want. If you want them to brown, you could use a little bit of like avocado oil to get that kind of more toasty texture. But I love tofu. I love it anyway. So I'm just gonna kind of take it all out on the plate.
How about
And then
using
we'll use
it- how about
Hmm?
using an air fryer?
Oh yeah, you could totally do that. Just yeah, probably. I don't know how long, and have you guys done that? I have an
Yeah.
air fryer. I would think just like 15 minutes, like at 400 or something, but I haven't. I think I have done it, but not recently, and I don't remember. I usually just put it in a pan. So that's my tofu. I'm just going to set it aside. I'm going to put a little more veggie broth in to get like the bits of tofu off. And that kind of, all that is lots of flavor. And I'm going to add my onions. And we're going to cook the onions until they get a little translucent. And that's most recipes, when you start with onions, that's what you want to do. You want to give your onions a head start, let them get a little translucent before adding the other things. And I usually wait on the garlic, because if you add the garlic too early, it can become bitter. So, all right, I'm going to dump my noodles were a little too rough, but they've been in there another minute. So I'm going to drain them now in the sink. And just let them, they can just stay there because they're going to be heated up later with everything else.
So you can cook the tofu until it's like browned a little if you want.
Yeah, you could cook it longer. You could do it in the oven or an air fryer. Like if you like it, sometimes I'll bake it, and then if you have it on a metal tray, you can put it under the broiler for like 30 seconds to get it kind of, you know, darker and crispier if you like it that way. So whatever you like.
My personal, like my fiance is a meat eater. I feel like for people that maybe don't like tofu or are new to it, better to go crispy. That's my 2 cents, but
Right.
that's just
I
an
was thinking-
opinion, not a fact.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, if you're new to it. I also saw this Instagram thing where if you like cut up your tofu, cube it, and then freeze it, and then thaw it and cook it, like it gets more of a tough chickeny kind of, it totally changes the consistency. It's fascinating. And I tried it. It's really interesting. All right, these are starting to look translucent, so I'm going to add my garlic. I've already had dropped the mushroom. Some dogs have mushrooms, guess so. So I just mixed in my garlic, and now I'm going to add all my mushrooms. My cutting board is too big to just kind of bring over here, so. Oh, you better than that. And onions and mushrooms do this interesting thing when you cook them. They release their own juices. So like without adding oil, this is gonna get soupy. It's gonna, once they start heating up. So like if I just had mushrooms in here, you don't need the oil. Like they will release their own juices so it doesn't stick. So I'm just gonna let those mushrooms cook. All right. Look at everything. So you did the pasta. Oh yeah, this does call for extra virgin olive oil. Okay, you can do that if you want. I just tend to avoid.
Do you add any salt or pepper, Sandra?
I haven't yet, except for the soy sauce, which is definitely sodium.
Yeah.
We're gonna add more seasoning in a minute. So we add the garlic, add the mushroom, and then it says add the thyme, which I need the crustader. So I have that herbs that I showed you picture. I picked some thyme earlier. Okay, now that the sun set, I need more lights in here. All right. So it calls for much time. 1 teaspoon of dried or 2 teaspoons of fresh. So thyme's kind of a pain. It's got these tiny little branches, but you can usually just pull off the leaves. The stems are pretty woody, so I try to get rid of those. But sometimes if I'm using it in soup, I'll just throw this whole sprig in so the flavors can come out and the nutrients can come out, and then I pull the whole thing out. So I definitely probably should have done this before, so this could be cooking right now but if you don't have fresh, you can just put in your dried thyme. But this is one of those really powerful anti-cancer herbs. All right. See what that amounts to. It's enough. Just gonna chop it up a little bit. 2 teaspoons. Yeah, let's think about 2 teaspoons. All right. That's willow. All right, so I'm just mixing in the thyme with the mushrooms, onions, garlic. And already, like, it's half the volume of, it looks like so many mushrooms, but it just cooks down. Like when you cook greens, it kind of just cooks down. So this is looking, Smells so good. You could add salt and pepper at this time if you want to. But the sauce is what's gonna have so much flavor in it. So you can do, add the mushrooms in time, saute for 5 minutes, add the wine, tomato paste, aminos, pepper. All right, so we're gonna do that now. Because it says the mushrooms in times for 5 minutes. It's been about that. So I'm gonna add the wine. You can leave out the wine if you don't want it. The alcohol does burn off. You can use white wine or red wine. Or if you don't want to use wine, I would just substitute veggie broth. So I'm using red wine, some pepper, some tomato paste. It's called 2 tablespoons. Yeah, it's these are the magic ingredients that make it like so rich. The soy sauce with tomato paste. And then, you know, when you open this can and then you have all this tomato paste left, what I do is I'll take it out afterwards and put it on like wax paper and freeze it in like 1 tablespoon blobs, or you could use an ice cube tray, and then I put them in a baggie. So then I have them ready to go next time. 1 tablespoon of soy sauce. And then I think that was everything. Wine, tomato paste, aminos or soy sauce, pepper, turn up the heat and reduce by half. So while that's reducing, we're going to blend the cashews. Just going to mix this up so the tomato paste smells so good. All right. So now we're going to take it calls for broth. One and a half cups of veggie broth. While that's reducing, we're just going to blend our cashews with the veggie broth. I'm using a blender that will make this super creamy.
Sandra, you drain off the water that you soak the cashews in and then mix the broth with the cashews and then blend it? Is that
Correct.
correct? Okay.
Yeah. Drain the cashews, definitely. That's just to soften them. So then when you have your drained cashews, add them to the blender. And I believe that's all that goes in the blender. Blend the broth in the drained cashews. And then pour over the mushroom mixture. And then add the tofu back in. So it's going to be noisy for a minute.
Can you repeat that again about the cashews? Like what I'm putting with them?
I'm just going to check and make sure it's not chunky. Nope, it's very smooth.
I had the same question as Ashlyn. Can you repeat what you put in the blender besides the cashews and the broth?
So it has 3/4 cup of the cashews. So you soak them, but then you drain them.
Yeah, yeah.
So, and then 1.5 cups of veggie broth. And then I'm gonna, I blended that and I'm just pouring it into this mushroom mixture. And now we're gonna mix that all up. Look at that, it's amazing. And then you just add the tofu back in and combine it with the mushrooms, the onions, the garlic, the cashew sauce. See how it's all coming together? And I'm only going over by a little bit. So you just want to make sure your tofu gets properly heated up. But then you can either do one or two things. You can throw your pasta in here and just mix it all in together, or you could put, depending on how you want to do it, you could put your pasta in a bowl like this and then pour the stroganoff over. I tend to mix it all together. Just, I like how all the creamy nut stuff gets in all the nooks and crannies of the pasta, but it kind of looks prettier to do it this way. Get lots of mushrooms in there. So that's, shut this off. So. Ta-da. What questions do you guys have? I gotta try it, of course. I didn't really add much salt, but I think it, has the soy sauce. Oh, it's really good. Did you guys try it?
My apologies. My apologies. I need to go. I have another meeting. I am have
Yeah, no
scheduled.
worries. Good to
So
see you.
yes, good to see you. It's nice to meet all of you. I'll see you all again next week, and I will see you tomorrow, Sandy.
All right, sounds good. Bye, Carrie.
Alrighty.
I'm not
So I
quite,
just want-
I'm not quite where you're at, Sandy, but I'm coming close and it's looking good. So I can't tell you right now how it is, but
All right.
Absolutely delicious. And I've
Yay!
never been a fan of mushrooms, so I have to say I am just in love with this dish. It's absolutely delicious.
Excellent. Great. I know, it's one of my favorites. Anyone else get to finish it yet or not yet? Were you cooking, Ashlyn?
Yeah, I had to grab my blender because the thing I was using isn't working.
Yeah, it's so you're almost done. That's that last step. But I just wanted to show you a couple products. Like this is some reishi mushroom tea that is at Whole Foods. I bought these at a farm. They're chaga mushroom tea bags. You could go online and find these things. This is the traditional medicinals reishi mushroom tea. This is what reishi mushrooms look like. My sister found them in the woods and dried them, and you just slice them up. And so whenever I make tea, I just break one of these in half and throw it in. Why not? And then some of my favorite books, the whole reason I named it Foods to Fight Cancer was I love this book. And I'll send you all this. But it has great pictures and explanations about why certain foods are good and what they do. This one is a deeper dive into foods. It's more scientific. But I love that the information is kind of the same, you know what I mean? It's based on science. And then this is one of my favorite cookbooks for cancer, also based on the same principles by Chris and Micah Wark, but it has great pictures and really simple recipes. Everything looks delicious, and even like a bunch of desserts. So I won't keep you. I know we've gone over. I will send you an email with some recipes, with the recording, with the slides. If there's anything I forgot, just email me back. And also for next week, I'll send you the recipe and the ingredients for next week's class. We're going to be focusing on cruciferous vegetables and leafy greens.
Oh,
Any
thank you
questions?
so much.
You're welcome.
this is going to be really good. I am actually going to make it tomorrow, but it's so easy. I'm glad I watched so I can tell.
Yeah, it's not that hard. It sounds
Yeah.
like complicated, but it's not.
Delicious. Very good.
Bye, everybody.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thanks.
Thank
See you
you.
next week.
See you next week.
Thank you.
Bye. You're welcome.